All right, welcome to another edition of In the Box. I am Coach Q. That's Paul Bell. Uh, we're going to go a different route, I guess, than what we've done before. I don't think we ever talked about this topic, but we will today. And if we did talk about it, it's been long ago. And I think we're probably going to hit it from a different angle, if ever. Our youth, our youth. How do we engage, attract, inspire, encourage our youth? What's your thoughts, Paul?
Well, as an attorney, I'm going to go for a case for the children, the youth. And
Now, legally, he's not an attorney. Okay, we'll just put that out there. Okay, he's not
I'm
a
not an attorney,
legal
but I'm going to play one for the next few weeks
attorney.
for our
Okay.
youth now. I feel that we have to lay the blame in the household. The rules of engagement starts at home. If we go scripturally, it says, train a child in the way that they'll go. But I believe it starts right here in verse Matthew 19 and verse 13. And it reads like this. Then the children brought to him that he might lay his hands on them and pray. The disciples rebuked the people, but Jesus said, let the little children come to me and do not hinder them, for as such belongs to the kingdom of heaven. And he laid his hands on them and went away. So I believe that we have to start right there, taking our children to church without options. And if I look at it from a perspective like this, back in that day, it was the disciples trying to hinder them, but now we have the children, we have the parents neglecting bringing them to church, and then also as leaders, what are we doing outside of bouncy houses and sugar snacks to allow the Holy Spirit to work in them? Because now they've had these hardened hearts. I've seen these kids the other day, and me being an outside person, the biggest thing I hear is I don't trust God. I don't believe in God. Because why? Because they haven't seen the examples, Pastor Red. They haven't seen the examples. They haven't seen back in the old days when mama and grandma was in the kitchen cooking, singing them old school songs. And I said my mama, my grandma, they were the best drug dealers ever. Why? Because they drugged me to church to get the best deal in Jesus Christ. They drugged me to church, and I appreciate it. They sent me with my grandpa, and then from there, uh, I went to church with my mom, and then I tried to go and find out myself what life was at 18, and it wasn't too good. So then, guess what? Train a child the way he'll go, he'll never depart. So I returned to the safest place I knew, to the drug house, to the best place where I can get the word to help my spirit get revived. And so again, you have parents. I'm not gonna say every parent. Let me say that now. I'm not gonna say every parent is at fault, but at some part we play a part. And then like with my mom, she sent me to my grandpa. For whatever reason, I'm not gonna say she was a bad parent, but at some point we have to use our village as a resource. You just said something earlier when my daughter was having a problem at home. She said, "Don't you know you have resources here?" I said, "Okay," but we use that excuse. I don't want to bother you, right? So as parents, as men, as I try to reach single moms and their children, oh, well, he can't go today. He has this, so we're making excuses of why they can't fellowship with other men that are able to enable them to find their purpose and to discover their gift. Because I talked to some young men the other day. I said, you know what your purpose is? He said, nope. I'm like, wow. It didn't shock me. It just hurt me, right? It disturbs my spirit. So now that father's kicked in on me because they don't have a father, right? So I'm not going to be like the disciples and keep them from Christ. I'm going to introduce them in a relationship manner way. I'm not going to go beat them over the head with the Bible. I'm going to love on them. I'm going to love on them, show intentional development. I'm doing some work at the house, and so I'm going to show them how to lay flooring. I'm going to show them how to see things on the floor, pick them up. Small things make big impacts. So I hope that helps.
Okay. So you said something that I want to hit on, and I want to make sure that I get clarity from this and make sure I didn't misunderstand it. So you say you went back to the house that you understood. When you say that, what were you referring to? Were you saying that the streets was what you understood? That's why you went back there, or was it that the church that you was understood because that's what you was taught?
You talk you talking about back to the church. I went back to the church, but then
Okay.
so when I sold drugs, trying to find my way, you know, when I went back to the community where I went from, right? When you went out there and your wife went with me, that's where I started trying to figure out my life in that type. So when God came into my life, I wanted to go back, you know, and I seen younger people just like me. And you know, I think it was what that one day, the night before, I think somebody they said they got shot out there, right?
Yeah.
You know, and just you know that one day I was out there, they were shooting in broad daylight, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was right there in the middle of it. I seen it, I heard it. So it's a very it's a bigger pandemic here. It's called Save Our Youth that we need to address. You know, and most of it is because we have young people having young people, and we there's a generation gap, and and in this case for our youth in Deuteronomy, it tells us the set standard that we need to raise our children under, you know, and but we've ventured away from that. So it's not the and if we go to Ephesians, he says it's not the person, it's the spirit that they've obtained in the world. You know, they see the TV influence, they see uh the influence of back in the day, the women you say, this is your cousin Tommy or your uncle Skip. The whole time it was just a man floating by. You know, we didn't know no different. So you know now it's a repeated cycle, just like the Bible. There's nothing new under the sun. So we repeated it. So how the question is, if we're going to engage our children, how do we from a perspective of old help in this new way of thinking? But is it
Well,
too late? Go ahead.
no. I think that's a good question, but I also think about our youth. They have so much more outside influence
Yeah,
than ever
absolutely.
before. I mean, when we see that uh, the cell phone is the power of 100 computers back in our day, or the ease of access to information, or you know what? I couldn't tell you when last time my children actually sat down and watched TV programming on the TV and not on a laptop or a computer. Besides us watching sports, because when they sit down and watch TV, the first thing they go to is Netflix or Disney Plus or Paramount or whatever is out there, Peacock, whatever it may be, YouTube, whatever, right?
It's the influence of the air, the power of the air, man.
Yeah, I mean, so what can we do to bring our children and get them rooted back into the word? You said something that the people have hindered the children from going to church.
Mm-hmm. No, it was the
And
disciples that hindered them in according to
well,
scripture.
excuse me, yeah, but that's according to scripture. But you said that households are doing the same thing.
Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Yeah, you
21st
said
century.
that parents don't even bring our children to church. We don't bring up. I mean,
To give them an option.
yeah, or don't even do it at all. I mean, when we look at the demographics of our society now, uh, what percentage of children do you think have actually gone to church 4 days out of the week, 3 days out of the week, like you and I used to when we was growing up?
You know what I hear in the streets, man? I hear that well, I'm not gonna raise my kids like my mom and dad raised me. What was wrong with how they raised you? You came out all right. So why you want to damage your children? Well, it goes like this here in 2 Corinthians chapter 4. He says, the God of this age has blinded the unbeliever from seeing the glory of God through Christ. It all ties a part to it that, you know, you'll never see God if you don't. First, it has to start with us, Red. It has to start with us as leaders and influencers, parenting, the school. If we are demonstrating wrong, healthy thought process patterns, it's going to trickle down in some form or fashion.
I mean, unhealthy, right?
Okay, did I say I say healthy? I said,
Yeah,
or I said we're not demonstrating healthy, but yeah,
yeah,
if we're presenting unhealthy, absolutely,
yeah.
right? Because see, here's the thing. Even with my own grandbaby, like I say, this is a very touchy because I deal with it, and so even with my granddaughter, I can take her for 6 months and train her up in this way, and she'll show progress. But now, if I send her back home and she's back into the same dunge, the village is only working if the people want it to work.
Well, I think you bring up a good point about parenting.
Mm-hmm.
and a village.
Mm-hmm.
People can only assist others if they want to be assisted.
Absolutely.
I can't. So, for instance, we were talking about a repair issue that you were having, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, why didn't you reach out to me? And he's like, well, I don't want to disturb you or give me the time or blah, 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 whatever it may be. And we all do this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, why is it that we first think about being an inconvenience instead of allowing somebody else to say, you know what, that's going to inconvenience me? Why do we have to put that notion out there? Why can't we? But I think it's almost like trying to think of a I'll just say it this way. When we go to certain places, we know what we're going to get when we go to certain places, whether it be the grocery store, whether it be the movies, whether it be whatever. If we call ourselves the church, we know that there's someone or something in that church that's going to help us in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Why do we refuse to take advantage of that?
Well, let's go back to the repair issue. For one, me, I had to consider the lateness of it is, and you work, and so it was 11 o'clock at night. They're trying to get this garage door fixed. I mean, now if it's in the daytime, I know you work. So you got to put those in perspective. You're working now. If you say, "Hey, Paul, I can get over there probably about 5 or 6 o'clock," great, but it doesn't work for the kids because they're at work probably. So we got to put those. But now I'm saying on like this. Okay, prime example. When we ask men to come on here, oh, it's too early in the morning. Oh, but if we wanted to catch a plane, or if our kid had a game to do early in the morning, where would we be? We'd be on
There.
that. We'd be on that road. We'd be on that plane. But this is a platform to help expose God to people. This is the whole in the box thing: expose God where He's been disposed by people. Right. So we're trying to elevate the understanding that God is still here. He's still living. He's still existing. And so we have a problem here, like you said, it touched your heart. How do we engage our children? It starts right here. It starts if we're going to use this social media and these platforms, let it reach the ears and the hearts of those who are tired, burdened, and heavy laden, because Christ's yoke is easy. And then I got this one because I look at your eyes and I see it's about to be a time for this is in the box moment. So I'm learning, but I want to leave us with this in Deuteronomy chapter 6. He gives us this standard, right? And it starts with us because this is where the bridge breaks. I want to say this is where the bridge breaks, and this is how we're going to get it back together if we work together as a team. He says right here, Deuteronomy chapter 6, starting at verse 1. Now, this is the commandment, the statutes, and the rules that the Lord your God commanded me to teach you, that you may do them in the land to which you are going over to possess, that you may fear the Lord your God, and you and your sons by keeping all these statutes. See that following up? He says, in this commandment, which I command you all the days of your life, that your days may be long. Verse 3. Hear therefore, Israel, and be careful to do them, that it may go well with you, and that you may multiply greatly as the Lord your God of your fathers has promised you in the land flowing with milk and honey. Verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And these words that I command you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children. You shall talk to them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise. You shall bind them as signs on your hand, and they shall be frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. And when the Lord your God brings you into the land that He swore to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give you, stop right there. That's case in point right there. There's a breakage. There's the instruction, but there's the break. But then He brings us back. Say, this is what we need to be doing.
So what you read is the Shema or the Shema in Deuteronomy 6 verses 4 through 8, and that's what the Hebrews teach their children to recite growing up. And I think that that is something that it would be a good practice for many of us to do, to know that God is one and love the Lord with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our strength. That would give us a baseline of who to trust. My daughter the other night said something that I was really encouraged by. She was talking to my wife about something, and I was listening in the room, and she said, "Well, you know what? If I continue to sow, I will eventually get it back." And I was like, "Oh, she's talking about biblical principles." But at the same time, it does take somebody to sit down with her and say, "Baby girl, you know what? You can't just give your money to everybody and anybody." Right? That principle is correct. If you sow, you will get it back. But you just got to make sure that you're sowing on good ground.
Hmm.
And so she's well aware of it, which I appreciate that she's cognizant of it. But now it's a matter of, okay, what does the scriptures really mean? Because I think for so long, this is what turns some people off, some youth off even, is that they've heard so long about church is ABC, God is ABC, but they're not seeing the results of people believing in God or seeing what people are talking about. So when we're talking about healing, well, people are still hurting. When we're talking about being fed, well, people are still hungry. When we talk about whatever it may be, people are seeing the contrary of the contradiction of what they say that they wanting or praying for. And people are wondering, well, if that's the God that you serve, why do I want to serve him? Right?
I, I got something right there, Red. You said something. You said you gotta be careful on what soul you sowing on. So are you saying that if you don't, when you say that, are you saying the nature of people, or when she's sowing into what? Let's help the audience understand.
That's a good question. No, that's a good question. She just got to be careful what she's sowing into.
Right. So okay, so it's okay to sow into people less fortunate, right? Because even though we don't look for that return back, it's good to sow into them because it's glorifying God. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's one thing. I mean, I don't want her to sow into a
False
candy store.
investments.
Like, hey, yeah, or yeah, Dad, I'm gonna purchase these video games online. I
Right.
mean, let's just be good stewards of what God has given us.
I just want to make it
Um,
clear for our audience. That's all.
I think that also we can go into a lot of more details about what that is, but at the same time, it is going to be somewhat relative, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So, all right. So but I would do want us to encourage us to continue to find ways to encourage our youth because many of our youth today, like we said, is it's a
They're under,
different world, man.
they're under
It's a
siege.
different world. Yeah. And they aren't equipped. They are not equipped to handle what's coming their way. Many of them aren't. And so they keep following the same cycle as Uncle Bobby, Auntie Annie, whoever it may be, right? But
Look,
we just need to continue to stay encouraged to find ways to
it starts at
train
home.
them up.
It starts at
It
home.
does. It
And
does. But if you don't have a good home background, you're just going to go round and round in circles. But that wraps up this edition of In the Box. And I know you want to get it, so save that comment to next time. All right. Feel free to like us or subscribe to us, and feel free to hit us up at inthebox317 at gmail.com. Again, that's inthebox317 at gmail.com. I'm Coach Q. That's Paul Bell. And until next time, folks, you all be blessed.